This video is going to go through the live demo of the finished product put away process. There's another video out there that will go through this presentation here that goes through the business process, etc. If you haven't read that or looked at the video, go ahead and do that ahead of time. This is, again, for the live demo of the handheld transaction to complete this process. Just real quick, the basics of the process are, we're going to scan each carton as they come off the line, and at that point, the user is going to submit the data to the system, and the goods receipt of that stock in the inventory will happen. At that point, the user will get a put away label, whether it's a pre-allocation label or a straight up put away label. We'll go through a few of the existing put away scenarios, so you're up to speed with both of them. Okay, so let's get started with this. I am in transaction ZDPT that shows statuses per label. A portion of this demo is kind of related to the guy doing the work on the floor with a mobile device, and some of this is to walk through inventory coordinators or warehouse supervisors on what happens in the system when we do execute these transactions. So off camera, I have these 10 labels here, the labels for these production orders, and it's production order 4917886, cartons 1 through 10. And you can tell here by the confirmation date and time that the production confirmation, the step that production takes to record production, is already completed for these. You'll notice that we have no goods receipt date and time. And we have no put away. Our put away status is here. Okay, and the other thing I have here is, obviously off camera, I have my mobile device. Here is my screen for the mobile device. So as I make progression through this, you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and then I'll attempt to show you through some other presentations some of the results. Okay, so every plant's menu is different, but basically there should be a production receipt menu in for each plant. The production receipt transaction is used to do the goods receipt. Remember, we have two steps. We're going to scan each carton, submit the data to the system, get a put away label. And then we have the put away, which is scanning the carton label and scanning it into the bin. So that's the second step. So our receipts, which is our first step, is the production receipt, which is option 1. And then option 2 is the put away. So I have my labels here for this order off screen. I simply selected the menu option there for the production receipt. If you haven't gone through the video for the basic handheld navigation, the menu navigation, and logging in, there is a separate menu for that. So go ahead and look at that as well. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to scan the first 5 cartons of this product. When I scan the first one, it's simply going to read in the production order, the carton number that I just scanned, and the pack. Above it, in the header, is our printer. So that's the printer that the label will be printed to. That should be defaulted per gun. Our last carton that we scan, and then our carton count. Carton count is probably our most critical component here. And you'll see when I go ahead and scan the second carton, that number will change. When we are executing this transaction, we should make every attempt to make sure before we submit this data to the system and receive our label that carton count matches what's on the pallet. Okay, that number always matches. The process will work perfectly. If you want to see the list of the cartons here, they'll list as you scan them. Now, if I scan that first label again, you're going to notice it doesn't get added to the screen. You can't overscan. So if you think you're missing a carton, or your numbers tell you you're missing a carton, and you can't figure out which one, just scan them all again, and it'll only recognize the ones that haven't already been processed by the system. So I'll scan that first one 3 more times, and it's not going to add. But when I go down to carton number 3, it'll start adding. same with 4, and then same with 5. Okay? All right, now I have my 5 cartons. I physically look at the pallet. I say, yes, I had 5 cartons. Yes, I scanned 5. What we do there at that point is then submit the data to the system. So I hit my F8, which is in my function keys in the lower part of the keyboard. And it's first gives me a warning that says, normally this SKU has 12 cartons per pallet. Would you like to continue? If you only really have 5, it is okay. If you think you missed one, you could use the arrow key over and say, no, I don't want to post it. It'll take you back to the scanning screen. And if you miss some, you can continue to scan. Here, I'm just going to say, yes, I know that I don't have 12. I had 5. That's all that was on the pallet. And then you could go ahead and enter through this warning. Okay, it's a soft warning. The system's going to post the data. You are going to get this message that says data received, and that means the system's received the data and it's processed. And with your mobile printer, you should have a label. So my label printed off screen. The labels, here's the label that we're scanning, the product label. And here are the potential labels for the put away. So I had the scenario set up so I received a put away label, and then I also have a pre-allocation label. So here's my put away label. You take the sticker off, place it on the product, and then the person executing the put away uses that to scan the stock into the bin. Now, for my inventory coordinators and my supervisors, if I refresh this information here, you're going to notice that my cartons 1 through 5 now have a goods receipt date and time. Here's my user ID for GR user, and we have a put away status of partially complete. The reason we have partially complete is in this scenario, I have some stuff that went to pre-allocation, so it partially put that stuff into pre, and I'll show you how to process those in a second. Okay? So this gets updated in milliseconds. You get your label, and the system's updated. This is how we'll know that if I'm a supervisor or I'm an inventory coordinator, we know that this has a production scan date and time, and it now has a receipt date and time, that this stuff should be headed to the warehouse. Once we do the put away, I'll show you how this works. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit continue, which is my enter button, and it's going to take me right back to the put away transaction. Generally speaking, when somebody's job is to do these production receipts, you're doing them all day long. So we just circle back. If you wanted to go back to the main menu, you can hit F3 here, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to go to the back to the production receipt menu, and I'm going to scan the other 5. So if I scan number 1 carton again, you're now going to get a hard error. It says this carton's already been processed. You get the soft error and it doesn't accept the scan before you submit that data to the system. After you've submitted it, it should have a label on it, so that should tell you that it's not been processed. But in this case, I scan it and it'll give you the hard error. If I go down to labels 6 through 10 and scan those, okay, it tells me, yep, I have my 5 cartons. What I'm going to do here for example here is I'm going to hit F2 and I'm going to clear one of these out. I'll clear that last scan. So you'll notice here I have 4 cartons, and you'll notice here is that when the grouping for 6 through 10 got scanned, they all share the same date and time. That tells us that when production had the product, they were all together. Okay? So now, if I try to submit this data, I'm going to get 2 messages. I'm going to get, hey, warning, this SKU should be 12. Yes, I know that. I know I hit 4. The other one you're going to get says, warning, production confirmed other cartons in this group. Is it okay to submit? What that message means is that when production scanned carton 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 were all together. So I had 5 cartons. It knows that you're now trying to scan 4 cartons and not 5. So that means you probably missed one. So if I go back and I hit my no, It takes me back to my scan screen here, and I can see that I missed carton number 6. So then all I do is, just like the first processing, I scan the first one and now I'm back up to 5. When I hit submit, I'm going to get the same pallet error, but I'm going to hit yes. That other message doesn't pop up because you now have scanned all 5. In the background here, I'm getting my new put away label, and when I refresh this data, you're going to notice that it has a separate date and time, and put away not processed, because in this instance I don't have anything going to pre. These are all things that are just going into the warehouse. So this scenario, we have some going to pre, so it's partially complete. The others need to be processed. For these, it's just an open label. This tells me that there's a pallet out there with these cart numbers on it, and it hasn't been processed for put away. Okay? Now, once I am to the point where I want to put away the stock, I go back to my main menu. I go down to my put away transaction, and I simply scan the barcode on my put away label. You won't use this menu transaction for the pre. We'll go through that next. This is the put away label, pre label. Okay. You'll notice that for every group, we'll have one label. The barcode allocates or identifies which one of these this is. So the ones for 6 through 10, I'm going to scan that label. Okay? And what it tells me is I scan the label. Okay? And it tells me that there were 10 eaches, because these are packed 2, 5 cartons packed 2. And currently there's some pending stock in pre, and there's a bin here called Burkhardt, so there's some stock there. The transaction is going to show you where things are stocked. Ideally, you would like to keep stock together from a SKU perspective in a single location. So this is a great help to show you, hey, we currently have some stock in this location. So to execute the put away transaction, we simply go to the bin, scan the barcode of the bin. It will validate to make sure that the bins are right, existing one in the system. If not, you'll get an invalid bin. You'll notice here, I just scanned this barcode in my barcode generator, and the destination bin was 9A0100. If that wasn't a valid bin in the system, I would have gotten an error. And then I just simply submit the data, F8. Okay? You get your message put away successful, just like the other transactions, will back you right back out and take you to your next put away. Now, if I go back to my tracker here for this order, you're going to see that for my 6 through 10, my put away is now complete. Okay? So that put away is complete. If I was to look at stock in the system, you'll see that I just put 5 cartons in 9A0100, and they're there. Okay? Before the stock is moved is when the stock gets placed into 901 against the production order. So you'll see here I have those 5 that I did earlier that I haven't put away yet that are still sitting in 901. Those 5 were in 901 too until I put them away. So that's where we get into that 901 report. Stuff that's been scanned off the line, not scanned into the bin. It sits in 901 because it's already in inventory, so we have to identify it some way. So the system puts it in this storage type that's unique to just production orders, and it tells you what production order is from. Okay? Now, if I go back to my pre label, pre means we're going to put it in pre-allocated because it's already allocated to go out. So you don't choose the bin, you put it into pre. Okay? For processing that, you'll see a option here that's called confirm transfer, which means you're confirming the transfer order into pre. And you're going to scan the label just like pre is. Okay? So I'm going to grab my pre-label that's printed here off screen, and I'm going to scan that. Okay. And I'm scanning. Okay. So now this data from this label shows up on the screen, and we just simply hit the series of buttons to post it, which is F1, which will flag it as marked, F4, that'll take us to destination screen, and then F1 to post the record. When that happens, the transfer is now complete. I go back to my stock location here, you'll notice that I have total 0 in pre. I come back here now, I now have my 1 cart. Also, just as a reminder and a catch, if you can't remember whether you did it or not, if you simply scan the same label again, it's going to tell you that you have already, whether you're processed it or not. Now that's the same as the put away transaction. So if you're not sure whether you put something away or not, you can go ahead and scan it again. For the pre-transaction, it'll say this order's already been confirmed. And if I go back to my put away transaction and I try to scan that label that we had already posted for the 5 cartons, it's going to tell you that there's no open quantities for that thing. You grab that label and scan it for you. Okay, there it is. No open quantities. Okay, so that's how you'll know whether you put it away. So there's no fear of putting it away. So that's the end of the demo. If anybody has any questions, feel free to contact support at support@pcf.com. Thank you.